This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. And we're on. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Comin Podcast with John Allen. I'm your host, John Allen. Before I get started with this conversation, I want to remind everybody that in the description of this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform, look in the description of the episode. You will see a couple, 3 links where you can click in if you would like to support my work that I'm doing here on the Comin Podcast with John Allen. And here we go. Rob Daniels, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on all the way from, this is amazing, Norway to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Amazing.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the home of some of my favorite musical artists. Neil Young is my favorite living musician. The band Rush, which I refuse to accept the fact, a couple of facts about Rush. I refuse to accept that Neil Peart is gone, and I refuse to accept the fact that Rush will not be playing live as a group ever again. I can't handle it. I refuse. No, but again, it's very good to have you here. I've been real excited about talking with you. You and I have a lot of things in common. Let me start with your career in the radio business. You are a radio show host.
I am, yes, a radio show host in Toronto, Canada, currently with Z1035, top 40 dance station, contemporary hit radio, playing all the hits for Toronto and beyond, Z1035.com, and many social media platforms that we are on, and trying to engage with as many listeners as possible.
And you've been doing this for quite a while. You're a 20-year veteran, if I understood correctly.
Thankfully, yes. Still in it. I've had a lot of people question why you keep trying to go back. If I've been let go at certain places, but I've been inspired by a fellow named Todd Stottlemyre, who played 13 years in Major League Baseball, and I used to follow him all the time. 92, 93 World Series, and he was a Blue Jay. And he wrote a couple of books, and one of them that really stands out to me is the one that's called Relentless Success and to Never Quit. He wears a baseball cap all the time. I believe it's his brand, where it says Todd Stottlemyre, don't quit. And that's kind of sort of the thing that has kept me going. Yeah, in radio, I like to be inspired by reading those types of books. I've read other quotes from great radio people that have a great mindset when it comes to the business, and to just be appreciative as well of doing the work that you get to do. So I always try and follow that mindset. And if I ever have a negative thought come to mind, to always try and replace it with a positive.
Well, that's a great mindset to have, that never say die attitude, that thing where you just aren't going to quit. But now, 20 years at the same job, there's not that many people these days that do that. People tend to bounce around a lot. What is it about radio that has kept you interested? What is it about radio that has kept you inspired? Why have you stuck with it for so long, even though you've had to bounce around a little bit and you've been let go a few times?
I think it's the motions of the job, being able to edit, edit in the studio. I love editing phone calls. We have sometimes live contests with live callers, but I love the editing aspect, the excitement from listeners on the other end, hearing that they're so excited about listening to the radio station for our contests, for our music, is so overwhelmingly positive. It is surreal to me. And when I hear them, we have a current contest going on where we're giving away a fully loaded 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon from Serpa Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram here in the GTA. Wow. And it fully loaded. It's like a yellow Jeep Wrangler, and decked out in the Z1 signage right now. So we're driving it around this summer to try and get it out in front of the public to see, because by August 20th, our afternoon drive host, the Hammer, is giving it away. So to hear people qualifying for it, the excitement on the phones is amazing. And to make people's day is like the best part about it. You're making people's day and making a difference in people's lives, especially throughout COVID. We are sort of the escape so to speak, format from COVID, trying to lift people's spirits rather than give them more anxiety than they already have.
Now, it was over this past year with the COVID situation that you were writing and you completed your book. What is it about COVID that either added to your writing process or detracted from the writing process? In other words, I'm sure COVID affected your process in some way. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. It affected it positively because 15 months went by and it's sort of, it gave me the extra time. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of time I've saved because I would drive to the radio station a lot. At the time, I was working in Hamilton when I first started writing the book, and that's about an hour and 10-minute drive each way for me. And that's about 2 hours, 20 minutes. And I would be on the air weekends, weekday fill-in. So you're looking at, I don't know, I'm not so great at math there, John, but I don't know how many hours of driving. So the amount of hours of driving I saved by being able to work from home, which I still prefer working in the studio, but with that extra time, I didn't want the time to go by and not do anything. My mind, and I'm sure as you could speak the same, when you're a performer, when you're a visionary type of person, your mind sort of never stops. It always wants to innovate and get better.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't want, boredom is not something that is inside of you. You always want to be trying the next challenge, right?
Well, yeah,
Go ahead.
I've had this period of unparalleled creativity in my life as an artist. Over the last 15, 18 months because of COVID. Having more time at home, I've put out more podcast episodes. I've done more writing. I've written more music, more stand-up comedy.
Amazing.
And you seem to be a like-minded artist, because I look at this whole thing with being on radio and having a radio show as a form of art, just like a podcast is a form of art. It's a form of artistic expression. So you and I are fairly like-minded in that, of course, we recognize a lot of people suffered during COVID, and it affected me in a couple of negative ways. But for the most part, as an artist, it was quite the positive experience. And it looks like it was the same thing for you. I mean, you have this
absolutely.
You have this great book now, Beyond the Mic. That probably wouldn't be.
Over here. Thanks so much.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
It's on order. I've ordered it through Amazon. I've got it coming to me from Amazon UK. Actually, if I order things from Amazon in the States, it takes forever to get here. So I ordered it from the UK, and as soon as it gets here, man, I'm going to dive right into it. Tell us a little bit, without giving away the main thrust of Beyond the Mic. Tell us what you've written about.
So in this book, it's more so, if you want, I could read the back of the book blurb. Would that help?
Do that,
to
please.
Sort of give a synopsis? Yeah. Okay, so here we go for the show. For John's show. This is the back of the book blurb of Beyond the Mic, Rob Daniels. Go beyond the microphone with Rob Daniels. Having been a radio personality for 20 years in various markets across Canada, the COVID-19 pandemic offered Rob time to reflect on his life through therapeutic writing, while at the same time giving him the outlet to share valuable tips and life lessons. In this book, you'll discover what Rob hasn't been able to share about himself over high-energy song intros and 1 minute or less talk time segments over the last 2 decades on FM radio. His bouts with anxiety, obsession, and depression will have you eagerly wanting to know more with the flip of each page. The same can be said for the brutal anti-Semitic verbal abuse he endured for 3 months while trying to live out his dream of playing on a baseball scholarship in the United States. Rob also talks about ways to manage certain types of chronic pain through his personal experience, along with shedding some light on his wife's brave battle with thyroid cancer. Get his take on intermittent fasting and read about some never-been-told funny and heartfelt stories regarding his parents, along with a chapter of praise and gratitude for his brother. Rob Daniels' Beyond the Mic is a peek behind the stage curtain. At times, it shows Rob cozying up to the idea of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. It hasn't always been sunshine and roses, but Rob Daniels chooses to keep a positive, holistic mindset and finds ways of managing to live well in the moment.
I tell you, that makes me want to read
I
it.
have it.
That makes me wish.
Yeah,
That
so
makes me
thanks.
wish that Amazon had express delivery to Norway here.
Thank you. Really, no, that means a lot. And listen, I understand yourself too, that you want to write a book as well. And I can't tell you how much this isn't only about me. Like I appreciate the promotion. I really want the book to get out there to influence as many people as possible, whether that even be for you, just for writing, because you found out that I'm an artist and I've been writing. A broadcaster can be an artist. What you're doing, being a comedian, and you wanting to write your own book inspires me. And if I can inspire you, that's great. And I don't think anybody should be competing against one another. The best thing is to compete against yourself and to become the better version of yourself the next day, the following day. And that's what you do.
Absolutely.
And so I'm everybody. My mindset is I'm everybody's biggest cheerleader. I get some anxiety here and there, social media anxiety, but in the end, for what I want as someone that sort of has adopted a little bit of a monk mindset, is to try and cheer everybody on. There's no, like, to me, I don't want to compete against anybody else. If you write a book, I'd be like, holy cow, John, that's incredible. I'm so happy that you actually followed through with this, with your dream of doing this, and you completed it. And I would put it up on my page in a heartbeat, and I'd try and be the first one to order it as well. And that's the type of person I am. And
that's what we need more of. That's what we need more of. And, you know, the way I look at it is your success is my inspiration and motivation. You know, I'm not into that competing with other people thing either. I put everything in a powerlifting sense. And as a power lifter, I'm trying to lift more than I did at my last competition. That's who I'm competing against. Right. I'm competing against that prior me, the previous competition me.
Exactly.
And I apply that to life. And when it comes to inspiration and motivation, you know, the success of others is what inspires me and motivates me. So I'm a big cheerleader as well. And here's another thing that I think is very interesting about you. And I talked about this on my previous podcast episode where I was solo. I talked about how it's very rare these days for a man to put their feelings out there, to put their failures out there, to put their challenges out there, especially when it comes to emotions or mental health. Mm-hmm. But you wrote about it. You're talking about it now. And people are going to see that side of you if they haven't already. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you're breaking new ground, or is this just par for the course when it comes to you, you know, putting your emotional and mental or psychological struggles, successes, failures, however you want to put it, you're putting it out there. Is this a new thing for you?
It's a great question, and the way you phrase that, so many thoughts come to mind. It is.
I'm a decent podcast host.
Yeah, you're an incredible interviewer. You really are.
I'm just goofing around. Thank you.
I'm just trying to get used to being on the other side too, because normally I do what you do, and I'm interviewing musicians or interviewing other public figures. And this
weird,
is the first
isn't
time
it?
I've actually been on the other. Sorry?
I say it's weird, isn't it? I've been interviewed for a couple of different radio shows and podcasts, and it's so weird to be the guest, to be the one that is supposed to answer the questions.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So I love this, how we can switch it up, do both. And so in answer to that question, I think that this was COVID sort of paved the way for me to express all of these feelings on paper. And it was really the most challenging I've ever felt, because I think I just started to get comfortable with my emotions. And that's what I encourage people to do, is just, yes, if you need to cry, something's really bugging you, don't shy away from it. Make time for your mental health, where you need to figure out ways of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and being aware of that, and just be like, yeah, I know today is a really bad day, something's going on, I didn't sleep as well, and the agitation is worse. I try to remind myself on certain days, and to become aware of that is really it brings you to a meditative state, which is being in the moment as much as possible, right? And being in the moment is being aware of your thoughts and emotions internally and externally from the other point of view. So
Yes.
it could be, anything, and being mindful, like, trying to, like today when we started this interview, I was trying to get on here as soon as possible and know that your time is valuable, but I was having technical difficulties and running late with a couple of things in my life. And then I felt bad, but it's like, I have to be mindful of this is your time too. And so these are sort of tools that I provide in this book of first of all, it's really me just reflecting on these times and in COVID and what I've gone through in life beyond COVID, which is beyond the mic. But so I'm trying to dive into that question more. If you don't mind repeating it, because again, being on the other side, I'm not used to it. So
one aspect of your book, as I say, is the fact that you're putting your business, if you will, your own personal business about depression, for example. And I think that is such an admirable thing for any person to do, because we have this thing, especially among men, where we have to put on the stone face. We got to puff out the chest, pound it a little bit. I'm strong and I got everything under control. I have no problems. Yeah. That's this thing that is going around. This overly, and there's nothing wrong with being a man. There's nothing wrong with being tough. But I try to be real. I don't try to be. I am real.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
authentic.
tough. I'm tough and I'm strong. But I also, I lost my son to a heroin overdose, and I speak openly about that.
Which is horrible.
It crushed me
I'm
for
so
God's.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. It crushed me for God's sakes, and I still haven't risen up from that. And I think it does me, to say it on my own, from my own personal experience, it does me well to be open about that rather than try and hide it, because trying to hide it from my friends and loved ones, people who are close to me, would be a much greater struggle than I would be able to handle on top of the grief. Yeah. So why not share it? Yeah. Maybe someone can learn something from it. Maybe someone can find comfort from it. So then to turn this back onto you and the way you're airing your struggle with depression, for example, is that new for you? Is this a new thing for you? You've put this in a book. Have you always shared things like that with people, or is this a new experience for you? Because men just don't do this that often.
No, I totally get what you mean. This is new to share it, but for how long it's been happening in my life, the anxiety and the obsession and depression, I probably spotted this when I was, I want to say, somewhere like 13, 14 years old. I remember,
and how old are you now? 37? So you live 25,
yeah, I'm 37.
25 odd years then with depression and anxiety before you voiced it to anyone.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the anxiety and the obsessional behavior, it was worse than the depression. The depression is certainly there, has been there at times, but
maybe as a result of the anxiety?
What's that? Sorry?
Maybe the depression shows its face as a result of the anxiety, for example. The anxiety, of course.
Perhaps. Yeah. Yeah, I think they all intertwine with one another. Here's how I can best explain it. I definitely see the attachment of anxiety and obsessional thoughts. The depression part of it, for sure, is in there, probably because you have that, or because I would have that, let's say. And so the anxiety, it starts literally with the anxiety part. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You blacked out for a second, but you're back now. I can hear you.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm very curious about in the writing process, you put some things in there that I don't think a lot of men would be brave enough or tough enough to do. And that is what I'm referring to is your writing about depression, about your experiences with that and with anxiety and obsession. Can you tell me what it was like to put that information out there? Do you feel overexposed? Was it a rough thing to do?
It probably it is a tough thing to do, but I want people to know about it. So I just want anyone listening to think about it as if someone were to reveal that they were coming out of the closet and they were gay. Same sort of scenario though there. You wouldn't discriminate against those people. Everything in this day and age, it has to be accepted. It should have been a long time ago. I don't know why it wasn't. It's the wrong mindset. I think if people that are still in that mindset where they're discriminating against race or sexual origin or mental health, they got to give themselves a mindset reset is what it's called. You got to reset the mindset, because
I like that.
That's so 1957, whatever year, 1857, everything is in this day and age, and should have been always, that you need to be accepted for who you are, what you stand for, as long as it's in a positive light, and there shouldn't be anything wrong. But, love is love when it comes to people that, whether it's guys with, gay, if you're males, and females, it doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with mental health. And it's more so about, if I was a boss anywhere, or if I was like a manager, I would, not just for the fact of being I wouldn't say biased, but having a soft spot for mental health. I really feel those that come out to talk about it and are comfortable and somehow can get that off their chest, and they start being comfortable with knowing that, yes, this is who they are, then I would want to hire that person, because it makes them go 10 times more stronger into whatever they're doing. And I'll quickly just give you a perfect example of that is that NHL hockey player. Someone came out the other day, or I don't know who it was exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that, before his NHL career starts, he wants to let people know that he's gay, and totally cool with that. Because he just feels uncomfortable, because at one point in time it was discriminated against or frowned upon. So, he wants people to understand this is who he is, and now he can be the best he can be when he feels like he's got the weight of the world left off his shoulders.
Well, it was a very tough and gutsy thing to do, and I think it's tough and gutsy when people like yourself, and even like I did, I can pat myself on the back about this. It is a tough and gutsy thing when you say that you have an issue with depression or with anxiety, and you put that out there. Now, I've been criticized. Some people hint that I or others do that to seek attention. Yeah, maybe some people do that, but I think most people are motivated by the same things that you and I are motivated by, which is that by putting it out there, that it may be able to help somebody. It may be able to strengthen someone who's going through something similar, right?
And it's true, because we sometimes, like even in this conversation right now, and everything I sort of approach in life, and just you become, I don't want to say everybody's like this, but I've found that I have become a little more spiritual in the sense of just why are we here every single day? If we're lucky to be here every single day. And I'm so lucky. When I wake up in the morning, I am so grateful to be here. I just want to be here, and I want to just create a positive influence and enjoy the simple things that life has to offer. I'm telling you right now, you could give me $2 million. I would not purposely myself buy some sort of fancy sports vehicle, any luxury type car, because it's not. I've experienced so much of what life, the hardships of it, and appreciating the small things. Like, I'm one of those guys that just goes for a walk. I want to get my 30-minute walk in a day, and I just look at the trees bristling in the wind, and that's sort of just getting lost in that.
Let me tell you how therapeutic that is for me. I had a long period after I was operated on my shoulder in May of 2019. It was a very complex operation. It was a tendon transfer. They took an Achilles tendon and put it in my shoulder, going across my scapula and around to the front of my shoulder. And it was so much pain, and my balance was messed up. I couldn't hardly even walk. So I had over a year-long period without being able to go out and walk in this beautiful nature in Norway. And brother, I'm telling you, it did something with my mental process. It did something with my ability to be able to handle things that kind of push a guy towards depression and anxiety. And now, after healing over the last almost 2 years or a little over 2 years, since that operation, I've gotten back to walking out up in the mountains and in the forests around here with my wife.
That's good.
And what
good for you.
A big difference. It's not just the physical aspect. There is a spiritual aspect. There's a meditative process that happens. And it's incredibly giving. It's incredibly giving. It's therapy. It's therapeutic. It is for me anyway. Is meditation and that inner reflection a daily process for you?
I would say it is. I try to incorporate it more. I think my uncle, who's more of a pro, who introduced me to it, he does something somewhere near like 25 minutes a day. I mean, he's also, mind you, he's retired. He's late 70s and stuff. He'd probably laugh at me for the amount I do next to what he does. I'm not the pro like he is, and I don't know if I can get to that point. I would love to. I think later in life, or maybe it comes sooner, that I do more. But I think I've sort of tried what he's suggested so far, which is 5 minutes a day in the morning. I'm struggling with 5 minutes at night, but sometimes even in the morning, I'll just do 10 minutes and anywhere between 5 or 10 minutes. And I think even that's okay. Like I'll consult with my brother from time to time, who really lives well as much as he can in the moment too. And he says even, and his wife works with children in psychology, and they say too that the best thing, even if you give yourself 5 minutes a day where you're doing a mindfulness meditation of sitting there, closing your eyes, finding a quiet spot that you can focus on just your breathing. Yeah. That's what you want. And then when your thoughts go rapid fire everywhere, as long as you bring those thoughts back to breathing and become aware that you're doing that. So it's like, if you're closing your eyes and you are focusing on breathing, then you want to make sure. So then you're thinking about, okay, I got to make sure I pick up milk on the way home from work tonight. Oh, no, back to breathing. It's becoming aware, because there's no such thing as, unless you become a really professional
unless you're on the top of a mountain in Tibet somewhere, you're going to be hit by these somewhat distracting thoughts. But the main thing is to just come back around to getting in the moment, focusing on your breathing, and you will feel yourself relaxing. You will feel your mind becoming more clear, and over time, those distracting thoughts will come less and less often, with much less frequency. I try to get in. I do get in 15 minutes every day, but if I can get in more, I do it, and it's amazing. It's incredibly therapeutic. It puts me in a more solid position to tackle life. It really does.
Yeah, and you just become more thankful, more aware, more
stronger, more giving.
Very much someone that practices just mindfulness in general, again, externally, internally. So that chapter essentially was very, very difficult to write, because I really reflect on the time where it really hit me hard in Montreal. I was a broadcaster there for a couple of years, and when I went to psychotherapy out there to try and to work on my anxiety and obsessional thoughts and being stuck in the past, it was really difficult. It was really difficult to go through that, and I would never wish anxiety upon anyone. I don't know if most people understand the symptoms of anxiety. And
tell me a little bit about that. I want to ask you, how does anxiety manifest itself in your life? Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
So essentially, what it is anxiety, the definition is negative anticipation towards the future. That's what anxiety is. And so when you feel those feelings and those thoughts and oh shoot, am I going to make it to work on time? Did I forget my lunch today? And the what ifing, am I going to be able to make next month's rent? All that stuff is negative anticipation towards the future. So we're talking about just trying to understand those thoughts and become aware that this is what you are feeling is called anxiety. And that's what you're reminding yourself. It's like, okay, I'm worried about being able to make next month's rent. This is what anxiety is. And how do you go about managing that is, again, to reverse back to, well, all we have is this moment right now. I can't worry about that. I'm going to try and do everything I can to plan for that, but I can't worry about, like, I'm going to try and find a job and that is going to pay next month's rent, or find a side job. But right now I can't worry about that because I don't have 1 month from now. I only have right now in this moment. So I'm going to try and plan, but right now, I don't even know if I'm going to have my life in 5 minutes. We don't know.
Yeah, I think,
so that's the
I think when people start thinking too much, when they become a victim of anxiety, and they start thinking too much about what may or may not happen further on down the road, then it makes their present life much, much less than what it should be. And then conversely, or kind of a mirror thought is that I'm a believer in, if my present day is optimal, that optimal now will reflect going forward, and it will take care of itself. It will take care of some of the humps in the road that are to come. But you're not going to take care of those humps if you're not if you're not introspective in the moment. The moment, today is what causes the ripples upon which one will walk in the future.
Exactly, and those are great sayings, and this is how we have so much alike, and I think the reason why we have so much to say and to inspire is because pain is our teacher. So you've been through a ton of pain yourself, emotionally and through your mind with your son, and can't even imagine what that must feel like. And so when that pain manifests itself over time, and you start becoming a student of what you're going through, that ultimately becomes your teacher. You become the teacher of it, and you have to go through it in order to teach it, to try and positively influence lives and get people to be on board with your tools and ways of trying to manage these things that go on in your life. So,
but pain could have,
and so.
No, I was going to say pain could have broken me down and put a stop to any progress. Pain could have also done the same thing for you, to you. What is it about you, or what is it about your circumstance that has led to this situation where you've actually risen up from your challenges, and those challenges have actually propelled you forward?
I think it's more so a lot of just the learning and becoming aware of it, and to essentially, the reminders of things. Okay, Rob, I'm going to, here's the obsessional behavior. So let me give you an example of the awareness part. So the awareness is what has helped me and propelled me moving forward. I'm not perfect. I really have some bad days. I do, but I'm working on it. That's probably the last bit of my therapy that my psychologist and I have been really trying to work on with myself, and I'm trying to get better. We've finished some sessions, but I might go back. Who knows? I might need it more. It's really the anxiety that kicks in, the obsessional behaviors, and I don't think that COVID-19 has helped. So anxiety is like, yeah, the negative anticipation towards the future. So, oh my gosh, could I give somebody COVID-19 because I forgot to wash my hands, or I was biting my nails by accident, and then like 10 minutes later I went to go get bananas at the grocery store. I forgot to sanitize. Oh shit, did I give somebody COVID? Sorry for swearing on the podcast. But
God, no! You know what? I've had the most filthy mouth stand-up comedians on here, so swearing is okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. My bad. All right. Sorry. But yeah, so those are the obsessional things that go through my mind. And so COVID hasn't helped for people that have OCD tendencies like myself. So that's the obsessional behavior, is the washing the hands. How much are you washing your hands? And it's vigorously, and you're going through more soap bars than you should. And this is what I'm admitting, is that, and people that don't admit it, they're just lying if they say they don't have OCD. And I've met a lot of people that do admit it. I'm just like, good, admit it, because we all have it. It's not, we have something. We all have something.
Yeah. And again, I think that being open about those things, you don't have to paint a sign on your forehead, but when it fits, being open about things like that, I think, is quite relieving. It's such a burden to carry on and try and hide from your friends or from your associates on the job or whatever. That can be so consuming that all it's going to do is add to the anxiety. It's going to add to the uncomfortableness. It's going to add to the, and all of a sudden now also you have agoraphobia. Now all of a sudden you have because you're actually you're adding to your mental discomfort instead of relieving it. So
absolutely. And this is where I really want to say and plug this for anyone listening, that is it's okay to not be okay, and to really, if you feel like you can't, life is just getting to be too much, it's very overwhelming. Try and find the help that you need. If it's a psychologist or any type of therapist, whatever it is, so that you can cope day to day. Because I felt that I was wondering, this was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I was in Montreal, like what was happening to me? I reflect on that in the chapter, because I didn't understand it at that point. And this is when mental health was a little bit it was still being a little bit accepted, but it wasn't being blown up as it was since, I would say, 2012 onwards. This is 2009. Facebook had been invented, 3-4 years back, and you didn't see a lot of mental health stuff. And I was going through it in 2008, big time. I want to say, and what it does is it's scary. Like, I'd say the one thing that really I noticed is it interferes with your life so much when it's not being managed. Then I took the wrong subway stop. I got off at the wrong subway stop to meet somebody. And that happened on more than one occasion. Or you get the wrong type of grocery store item because your mind is elsewhere.
Yeah, you're not in the moment. You're everywhere else except for in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is what my teacher was, in the sense, is like, what is going on here? And I was supposed to get a friend. I'm like, oh, sorry, man, I missed the subway stop to get you at the train station, because I wound up at I took the wrong direction, and normally I wouldn't do something like that, but I was so troubled in my thoughts, and this is why I think it is, in this day and age, especially in COVID and everything that's gone on in these last few years with racism and all kinds of things that are happening out there, that just, we need to learn to be gentle to one another. We're all on the same team. That doesn't matter what your color is, of race or this or that. We all bleed red, and we're human beings. Like, it's like, when wolves are all on the same team, do they, hate on one another?
Exactly.
They're the same pack, right? Humans need to like humans more. And this is why sometimes when I try and teach my wife as well, it sometimes troubles me sometimes when she says she likes animals more than she likes human beings. Sometimes
that kind of bugs me. That kind of bugs me when people say that.
that bugs me too sometimes. Yeah. And I mean, I love my wife, but that phrase just bugs me because I'm like, we are all on, we need to be there for each other so that, because this is our team, human race is our team, and the wolves and the bears are their team. Like, and cats and dogs and, like, listen, they're great animals and as good pets. And if that's what helps you meditatively and in life to have a pet, I'm all for that if that really helps you. But humans need to be on the same side more than we have in the last 5 years, I'd say.
I'll take my wife over a pet poodle any day. So.
Yeah, right. I would take my wife too, and I'm sure she would take me too. It's just more so she noticed. I think that's more of a generalization of what she has seen in the news and people bickering at one another, and sometimes. Well,
the thing is,
it could be from past experience.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a lot of ugliness in the world, but I believe that there's more beauty in the world. I'm not these. I mean, a lot of people have kind of given up on humanity, and they'll say things like, I love animals more than I love humans. And okay, that's fine if that's their view, but I see more beauty in the world than ugliness. I do. I truly do. Yeah, there's a lot of ugliness, but there's so much more beauty. I think it's about mindset. I think it's about your inner circle. And I don't want to say
yourself with.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that a lot of people suck, but I'm sorry, a lot of people suck. And by suck, I say they are. I mean, if you are closed-minded to your own situation, you have to engage in a little bit of introspection and see what are you putting out there and what are you allowing back in to your life. And that means you got to check your inner circle. It doesn't hurt.
Exactly.
It doesn't hurt to change out some friends. It doesn't hurt to distance yourself from family. It definitely, you have to know your
boundaries, right?
Exactly, and it definitely doesn't hurt to seek new relationships, new friendships, and let some new people in. Dr. John says.
Yeah, really. You could be. Seriously, you make a lot of sense with that, and again, we have so many of the same rituals and things that we follow, and I mean,
we have a lot in common.
I just think that mental health.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Just to sum up that chapter, I just think it's more of a mental health thing to create awareness. That's what the whole Beyond the Mic thing was to learn about things you thought I'd never experienced before, or that everybody's going through a struggle we know nothing about, and that's kind of what
that is so
this
true.
is. I've said this, and I've said it on a couple other interviews as well, that I think the main thing is this book is more so. If you could see this, and then it's like, if you could see that it wasn't my face behind there, but if it was Robin Williams' face.
May he rest in peace.
And if it was so rest in peace, Robin Williams. He was an incredible, genuine human being in this world. And if he was able to tell his story more and maybe find ways of coping, that would be what this book is about, is Beyond the Mic. It's taking the mask off, not the COVID-19 mask, but the mask of everything's okay and dandy, which I try and make it do, because I am a positive person, but this is things that you never thought I necessarily would have gone through. But then there's also chapters as well that dedicate to great ways of trying to live your life daily. I'm someone at the end of the day that feels like you really need to follow what's best for you in terms of your daily rituals, what you do for your habits. And one of my habits, I'll tell you, John, and you may be different from this, because again, everybody has a different take on it, but I really dig deep into intermittent fasting and how it has very much benefited my life. And some people might not like that. They may need breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or their doctor tells them that fasting is not something you can do at this point because of personal issues, whether it's a medical reason that it's not good for them. But for me, I I tell you, I don't know what I would do without it since I was introduced to it in 2016. And it has been the best experience of my life for my personal morale every single day. And really making food, how do you say this? That everything in life is a business, that you have to understand that food is a business. Everything you see off the highway in terms of fast food advertisements, everybody's trying to get you to have their products, and that's what it is. And that's the same thing for food. So you like, you see those advertisements of the big cheeseburger on the billboard, or you see the bag of chips that's in the food aisle, and you're just like, you can't. And listen, everything in moderation. I'll tell you first. I'm exactly sure. Like, we all do it, and I'm not like that. But I've splurged too. But to give yourself discipline every day and incorporate discipline in your life every day, intermittent fasting brings your mindset and your vivid thoughts to a new level.
I am a definite believer in the benefits of fasting. I just did an episode, 3 episodes back, where I talked, it was a solo episode, and I talked about a 60-hour dry fast that I had just completed.
Wow.
So
you did that?
Yeah. So you could say I live a fasting lifestyle. I'm always at the very least, and I say in the very least, I'm in an intermittent fast, but I can also throw in more extreme fast. My record so far, personal record, is an 86-hour-long dry fast. And
what?
Yep. And I continued, and I continued my so-called elite powerlifting training during that fast. So that
shows you how strong your mind is. Like, point to that brain and mind of it. That is what it's doing every day, is to test your mind.
Fasting,
how far can you bring it?
Fasting not only tightens up your body, but it will tighten up your mind. It will tighten up your spirituality. Fasting is where it's at for me. I mean, it's medicine. Fasting is medicine. Fasting is meditation. Fasting is spiritual. I want this vessel, this damaged and imperfect vessel, even in that condition, even in that state, to be as good as it can be. And fasting for me is what works the best. So, amen, brother. Fasting is where it's at for me. Absolutely.
Amen. Yeah, good for you. So do you do it every day then, or once in a while? Or
every day I have at least a 16-hour space before I eat. Every 24 hours, I have 16 hours where I am not eating. So at the very least, I'm doing an intermittent fast. And then
so you're doing 8-16 window. 8-hour opportunity to eat in an 8-hour window.
Exactly.
And then 16 hours fast.
And then maybe a couple times a week, I'll put in like a 36 to a 48 hour long fast. And then a couple times a month, I'll put in that extreme dry fast. Now, when I did that 60-hour dry fast a few weeks back, a couple episodes ago, that was the first dry fast I had done in over a year. And it was surprisingly easy because I had the proper mindset. You have to go into a long, extreme fast like that with the proper mental preparation, or else you're not going to make it. But once you
are incredible, John. I mean, the furthest I've gone is a 48-hour. I think I've done a 48-hour, and it wasn't. And when I do the 48-hour, it wasn't dry. It's more so black coffee and water. I may have been a bit more reformed to it, where I had some like milk or cream in my coffee in the middle of the 48-hour fast. But I know the traditional one is always black coffee and water. But the dry fast I hear, which my friend tells me is really a good one. It takes it to a new level, what you're talking about.
It's
just
phenomenal.
Not even coffee, not even water. Really, eh?
It's phenomenal.
Okay.
I can't even put words on it. I should put words on it. I should do a podcast series.
That's what you should do. You should do it. And in your book, you should write about intermittent fasting too, and how it's helped you, and then that could help others as well in ways of their life. And that's what I did with this, was just really reflected on how it was introduced to me. And this is where life is important, on how you approach others and how you treat others, because he influenced me for the last 5 years. Every single day I've incorporated this into my life from a fellow that that I reflect on. He was just the nicest guy ever that I still keep in touch with. He knows that there's a chapter about him, and how it was introduced was like, Rob, have you ever heard of intermittent fasting before? Why don't you try it? Give it a try and see how you like it. Give it a week. If you like it after a week, try it a month, and then see where you're at with that. If you don't notice results, go back to what you were doing before. It's okay, but just give it a try. See what happens after a month. And when I was doing high intensity cycling at one point back in I don't know when, in 2000, from 2012 to 2016ish, I want to say, because I was in a car accident as well in 2016. So that was my savior, was intermittent fasting, because when I could do the cycling in certain months of 2016, I was actually, like, I was losing the weight, and people were asking, how did you drop the weight? And I would never boast about it. I was always someone to just keep it like, hey, if you notice, that's great. I feel great, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx anything. So if you notice, that's cool. And this is sort of what Beyond the Mic is about too, is sort of writing about it and how it came about 5 years ago. And this is now my habit for the last 5 years. And I didn't want to jinx anything, saying anything too soon. I lost the 10 pounds, but I feel like now, after developing the chronic pain, I have taken it to a new extreme, because I used to do what you were doing as well, 8 hour window to eat and relatively well and healthy, and the 16-hour fast. And I would do that for a while I was in high intensity workouts, and I found I was losing weight right to it was amazing, because I was
and that's the thing with fasting. And that's the thing with intermittent fasting combined, or any form of fasting combined with proper exercise. It'll kind of, and I'm not saying you should find an excuse to eat like a pig, but it does give you room to have that little bowl of ice cream, a little bit of chocolate. It gives you room for that, and you're not going to get the bloat. You're not going to get, you're not going to gain weight from it. So there's just so many things that are good about fasting.
Absolutely. And I think it's, listen, it's, to me, it's really beneficial for my life. It might not be for everybody, but that's what the chapter sort of does, is to try and positively influence you to at least try it, do what my friend told me to do.
What I always say to people,
not force it upon anyone.
Yeah, that's important about not forcing it on anyone, because some people who fast get real pushy about it. And I say to people, what I say to people is, fasting is not going to hurt you. It can only help you. So you try it, and you may or may not like it, but it will definitely help you, and it definitely won't hurt you. It may be uncomfortable, but that's discomfort doesn't harm you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you can go.
Let me ask you something, Rob, because unfortunately, because of technical difficulties, we've used a lot of time on that, so we don't have as much time as I wanted, and we kind of have to start winding this up. But let me ask you this.
I should have another 10 minutes if you want. Here. Is that okay?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. No problem.
But in Beyond the Mic, there's a lot of different things that you're writing about. Some things are more serious than others. There's a little bit of humor in there, from what I understand. What is the main thing that you want your readers to get out of Beyond the Mic?
The main thing is probably for them, order of importance to me would be that if it helps you change your life in a positive direction, with whether that may be talking about anxiety and depression and some of your obsessional behaviors, like I have had and still sometimes have difficulty, because we're living in the moment with COVID and all these new things that we learn every day. So if it helps that person reach out to get help, to admit that they have a problem, and because the most difficult part is to, I find, admit it and then go and speak to someone. There's a lot of people that just are too proud to do that. There's this too proud behavior, right? And there's
listen
no
up,
such
men.
thing.
Listen up, men. Like, you don't need to be so tough all the time. This is for men.
Yeah. You really realistically, I find if we want to be our most authentic selves, we just have to be comfortable with of being who we are. And to me, I want that to come across, that people can go get the help and better their lives, or if they feel like they can help themselves in some other way, whether that be that fasting helps their mental health, and it's less therapy sessions, if that, or if they find ways of being inspired. There's a chapter out there called Keep Dreaming, dedicated to the Field of Dreams movie site in Dyersville, Iowa. And that really speaks volumes in terms of dreaming and what it's like to actually fulfill a dream. And I've been so blessed and grateful to fulfill so many. I mean, not everything has come to fruition, but
it's a process.
Replace the negative with a positive. It's a process. And I've been so thankful for so many things that have dreams that, and dreams are that, that fire inside of you that you really want to do this. I really wanted to write this book. I really wanted to be on the radio in Canada, in certain cities, and certain day parts, and that was what that chapter is about, the feeling of dreaming, and to try and instill that into somebody that might be working a job that's 9 to 5 and they absolutely hate what they're doing, and that there could be more out there for them that would be more satisfying and fulfilling for them, for their lives, so that they can be their greatest self. I would say
that for people, there's always something more out there. There's always something. Mm-hmm. It may or may not be better. You might try something and you find out that now you're a little worse off than you were before, but you've gained experiences. So there's always something different out there there's always a new path to go on. And that right there is what I hope can inspire people to just keep going. A lot of people get met with some of these challenges that you've been met with, and they give up and they turn to drugs, or they take their own life, or they do things that lead to incarceration. I would want people to know, and I hope that they get this in some form or another from your book, that there's no reason to give up. Quite the opposite. There's so many reasons to continue. There's always a different path, always.
Yeah. And life is a gift. It really is. There's so many, I try to remind myself of that every day. And there's, the book touches on so many things. It's not,
I can't wait to get it.
Quickly.
I hope Amazon gets it here quick.
Have another interview after you read it too.
I can tell you this, Rob, we're going to have another podcast episode once I've read it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
can't wait to. This is I just want to keep talking about the book to try and instill it into so many people. And so the last little thing I'll tell you in terms of the anxiety portion, or is the what was it? The one that really affected me, the depression part of it. I would say what I really noticed, if I'm trying to put awareness into the picture, was there's a chapter on seasonal affective disorder. So I went through a period of, in the last 5 years, another one of these things. Again, everything is the mind. Where is the mind going all the time? And that, for a good 8 months, that was where it was going. I loved my job, everything about it back in 2016, 17, but my mind was going everywhere again. And what was it doing this time? Well, Rob, you were bugging your friends constantly about sending them screenshot forecast pictures. Oh my gosh, I would do anything to live in Florida right now. I want to be in Florida. I want to be in Southern California. I wanted to be everywhere but here in this moment. And that is what that chapter is about. Okay. It was, and trying to teach you that you should be able to live wherever you are, as long as you hopefully have a roof over your head, that is, and food on the table, and that you can stay nourished and try and stay healthy. You should be able to live anywhere. And that's what that experience taught me. I do take vitamin D to manage that.
Very important.
Yeah. Yes. And I try to entrench myself in the things that will make you proud to be Canadian. Like, I am proud. It's just Canadians need something to look forward to all the time, I believe, and humans do in general, but especially because we have like the 6 months of how many months is it of winter? It goes from like about November to May 1, where we're in, it's either freezing cold or we have dark clouds, and so we need to take that vitamin D because we're not getting outside as much, which we should. So I try and force myself.
It's a big issue here in Norway, especially further up north where we have our other home, where we get this, the whole summer is all light, but all winter it's no sunlight at all. Well north of the Arctic Circle, and that vitamin D is essential. You're just not going to make it. You're just not going to have an optimal winter if you don't have that vitamin D level that you should have. You're just not going to have it.
Yeah. And that's what was going on with me. I was noticing that I hadn't taken vitamin D at this point too much. I introduced it, but then I spoke to my family doctor and other doctors I've seen just to try and figure out what is the right dosage for me in the winter. And I think it's different for everybody, what you need. And so to really be aware of that, that's what happened in that chapter. And to give my friends shout outs who dealt with me through that winter where I'd always want, it's not like I don't still dream of that. Like, when I'm, if I ever get to be retired or Canadians like to spend winters down south, maybe even 1 month, 2 months in the winter would be fantastic. But I was getting outrageous. I'm like, I would do anything to just live in Southern California. I was getting out of my, and those dreams still do exist, like being a PM drive announcer in like San Diego and being their PA guy at the San Diego Padres game, or even AAA baseball, AA baseball, because I love baseball so much, and there's baseball in this book too, and to be around baseball more. But my family's here, and everybody, and my family needs me, and I don't want to get selfish like that. And I fulfilled a lot of dreams already. So what can I do with my family to celebrate with them and have them in my corner still, so that you don't lose everything by chasing the things that, it's got to make sense for your life. You don't want to throw everything away.
No, right? But you're still young. You've risen above some of your challenges. Of course, there's going to be more challenges to come, but I'm sure now, and maybe especially because you've written this book, you are now in a more stable position. You have a more solid foundation. You're a stronger man for having written this book, which is then going to put you in a better position to tackle anything that comes along the road. But it's going to more than that. It's going to make you a better man in the moment for yourself and for your family. It's, and again, I haven't even read the book yet, but I can say that I love the book because knowing you from these past few conversations I've had, and now getting to know you better through this episode and hearing more in detail what this book is about, I just know it's going to be a good experience to read it, man. I can't wait. Wait.
Thank you so much, John. Really means the world that you've had me on your episode today, and we definitely need to do this again once you've read the book.
Well, you have a lifetime supporter in me right here. This is not a podcast episode. This is step one of our friendship. Let's look at it that way.
Exactly. We'll look at it like that, and you as well. I'm proud that you've risen above all that you have gone through, and can find ways and can hopefully to continue to find ways of managing each day and staying positive and reflecting when you need to.
Listen, Rob, I want you to do two things for me before we wind this up. First, I'm going to say 3 words, and then I want you to complete the sentence. One sentence, okay?
All right.
You ready?
Words.
So here we go. The first thing, Rob Daniels is...
optimistic.
Rob Daniels is optimistic.
Great. Optimistic. Great. Okay, all right.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now here's the other thing I want you to do for me, if you would, please.
Yeah.
Can you say something? I don't know, a sentence or two, or maybe a short paragraph. Can you say something that my viewers, whether they're watching this on YouTube or my listeners, if they're listening to this on a podcast platform, can you say something that could possibly inspire them? Because that's the whole thing behind this podcast. I want, first and foremost, for myself, I need motivation, I need inspiration, and I get that from the guests that I bring on. I learn something from you people. And then following that, I want my listeners and my viewers to find some sort of inspiration or motivation or something that they can learn. Can you say something that my viewers and listeners can carry with them, maybe for the next day or two, that might lift them a little bit higher, a little bit lighter on their journey through their life?
Yeah. I think it's finding what works for you, and you have to be your own person. There's not, obviously consult with people and your closest family as much as you need to. Yeah. But I think about a lot, again, your time on this planet, my time on this planet, and that it's never promised, and what you have to do. My wife and I, we hit head to head on this a lot at times about even just, finding a normal job. I've never really had a normal job in my life. And we argue about this, and whatever's best for the family. I believe, if I've ever found a normal job that I could be happy, and I would be totally for that. But everything I involve in my day, I feel like I'm trying to master my own day by being involved in the things that I excel in best. I'm open to learning new things, and I've mastered my mind to know in certain situations where I get frustrated. Okay, I don't want to learn this, but I should learn this. And my father-in-law is incredible at building things. He's great with his hands, and I'm not. And I would love to learn from him, but I know that deep down inside, I need to learn from someone else, because they're the masters at that. And I don't know if you've ever lived in or been around many Italian people who are the most nicest people in the world, Italian people. But there is a lot of things about not mastering their thoughts and emotions, and there's a lot of high strungness that I find I struggle with in my, and I have to constantly remind myself, right? And so someone wants you to do this or be this person or that person. They want, the father wants their son to be the NHL hockey player that he should have been and he never was, and he keeps pounding the pavement to get his son to make the NHL because he couldn't. Right. That's what you do not want, and that's
quite toxic. That is quite toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody that's in that position to feel like they need to be motivated and they need to get out of that, that's what they need to do. They need to find what lights up their insides, and that's what they need to do more of, because they have to keep reminding themselves they're not guaranteed 2 minutes from now. They're not guaranteed 5 minutes from now or tomorrow.
Right.
So do more of what you love, and the money stuff will come if you're good at something. And even if you have to take your mindset to, okay, my 9 to 5 will be that job that I don't necessarily like right now, but I'm paying the bills. But what are you doing with your 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.? That's where you got to try and find.
That is a whole block of people's lives that could be put towards productivity, inspiration, creativity. And a lot of people don't see that. They just don't see that opportunity in that block of time.
Yeah. And yes, you do need your relaxation and stuff, and that's totally fine.
But you don't. But how many seasons of Seinfeld can you watch before it gets old? Turn the TV off, put all that stuff aside, and and maybe not even every day, but from time to time, maybe just look at that block of time and figure out what you can do with that to further your personal development.
150%, John. You hit it right on the nose there, and that's what I would say to your listeners is to, if they're not in something professionally or even in their personal relationships where they don't feel respected or and they're just not, and they're clinging on, it's you have to have a strong support system, and at the end of the day, do jobs and things in your life that make sense for you, that you feel you have the best strengths in, but be open to learning new things. But do more of what you're good at, because again, we're
Do
not
more of
we're
what
not
you're good
promised
at.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
more of what you're good at.
listen, Rob.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make a prediction. I think that as you go forward to more interviews about your book, and I think you're going to have a lot of attention on this book.
Thank you. Means a lot. It really
It
does.
sounds like it's going to be something that a lot of people can benefit from. And I think that as you continue on your promotional efforts for your book, I think there's going to be more and more people. There's going to be a wave of people who come into your circle of positivity. You are a beacon of positivity. You are a beacon of hope. And I say this just knowing the little that I know about your backstory. And again, once I've read your book, when it comes, I'm going to jump right into it. And I hope you'll have the time. And I say this, I hope you'll have the time. I know you're going to be a busy man going forward because of this book.
Don't worry.
But I hope you have the time to come back. And, yeah. Well,
for sure, absolutely, and if I ever get out to Norway to visit, I'll come by and say hi.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
I tell
you're welcome here in Canada too. Hopefully,
I was going to tell you,
make it out here one day.
I was going to say when I get back home to my family in Ohio, eventually I'll be going back maybe next summer. Canada, Toronto is really not that far away. It
not
really isn't.
Far. Yeah.
So,
yeah, it'd be great to meet you one day, and for sure I'll do this episode again with you after you read the book. Awesome.
Rob Daniels, everybody. Thank you, my brother. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, John Allen. We'll keep in touch, and you do a great job, and keep chasing those dreams that light you up inside too.
I will. I can't help it. I have to. Thank you, man.
You do. That's what makes life worth living.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. Okay. Take care.